9,975-1. That was the record of NBA teams leading by 16 or more points with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter in the past 25 years. That's a 0.01% chance of making a comeback. Many may remember the first time this type of comeback happened when De'Aaron Fox intentionally missed his free throw, got his own rebound, and forced OT against the Wolves in 2020. That single game meltdown stood alone in NBA history until October 29, 2022, when the Oklahoma City Thunder went on the road and stunned the Dallas Mavericks in what many OKC fans still remember as the Isaiah Joe game and the beginning of his rise as the most underrated player on this Thunder roster. Down 16 points with 4 minutes and 53 seconds left in the fourth quarter, Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault subbed in Isaiah Joe for the first time after being a DNP by coach's decision up until that point. ESPN at the time of Joe's sub gave the Mavericks a 99.7% win probability. After knocking down a pair of free throws to calm down the nerves, it was like Isaiah Joe had turned into the Human Torch as he incinerated the Mavericks with 15 points on 4 of 4 shooting from the field, a perfect 3 out of 3 from deep, and 4 out of 4 shooting from the line while being a plus 26 as he helped pull the Thunder out of what should have been improbable circumstances on their way to stealing an overtime win in Dallas. As the NBA season approaches, there's a whole lot of anticipation and excitement surrounding the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be looking to win his first ever MVP, Chet Holmgren is primed for a run at Defensive Player of the Year, and J-Dub could be in a great position to potentially win the NBA's Most Improved award and make a leap into stardom. OKC also made 2 massive offseason acquisitions in trading for All-NBA defender Alex Caruso and the Thunder's biggest free agent signing in franchise history in Isaiah Hartenstein. That's right, Isaiah Joe is so underrated that he isn't even the first Isaiah that most Thunder fans and NBA fans have come to mind when thinking of OKC next season, but don't get being underrated and undervalued confused. Since signing with OKC in October of 2022, Isaiah Joe has taken the cake as the best, most dangerous, dynamic three-point shooter on the Thunder's roster. Last season, Joe attempted 485 shots, 72.8% of those shots were from three-point range. In today's NBA, the three ball seemingly increases in value and importance to teams every single season. Over the past 10 years, every single NBA champion other than one has ranked in the top 10 in three-point percentage during the regular season. Last year, the Thunder were the #1 three-point shooting team in the entire league, in major part to Isaiah Joe's ability as a marksman from deep. He's a constant source of spacing in any lineup that he's added to, opening up driving lanes and serving as a constant outlet or security valve for OKC drivers to kick out to for quick pinpoint buckets from beyond the arc. Isaiah doesn't have a specific hot spot on the floor, but looking at his shot chart from last season, I would say that there is a lean towards the left side of the floor and corner in his three-point shooting production. Joe is extremely effective in transition. The Thunder, being a young and athletic team, loves to get out and run. Joe does a great job of always having his hands ready and in position to quickly get his feet set for a shot if his teammates swing the ball his way. Even at the NBA level, not every pass is going to be perfect. Teams have put an emphasis on length and crowding passing lanes. It is an extremely small thing, but Joe does a great job of pacing his steps and adjusting his body to the pass. Sometimes shooters will beat the ball to the spot and have to reach back across their body and contort just to catch the ball, and by then they're off balance and potentially a defender might have time to get a better closeout. Pacing steps and sort of meeting the ball at the spot allows for a much cleaner, smoother, and more comfortable shooting motion for Joe to rise up and knock down threes from. He not only provides spacing with his shooting, but he also has a great understanding for spacing. On these fast breaks, he does a great job of making himself available for passes from drivers while also not congesting up any lanes or bunching up together too closely to his teammates where defenders can swarm the ball. On this play in particular, you have Dub on the right running to the opposite corner, Chet is on a rim run, and Joe goes to the left corner. It is a little thing, but the fact that he goes to the corner and doesn't stop above the break to spot up puts Derrick Jones Jr. in a much tougher bind defensively, where he has to play both Chet rolling to the rim and Joe setting up to snipe from the corner. Here's another example where Dyson Daniels is in between a rock and a hard place trying to guard 2 at once. J-Dub is coming downhill ready to attack, Daniels prioritizes guarding the ball, and Joe fades all the way into the corner. Similarly to the Dallas play, he could have just stopped above the break, but going into the deep corner the way that he did puts that much more strain on Daniels, slowing down his rotation and freeing up Joe for an even cleaner look at the basket. In his 2 seasons in OKC, Joe has also started to extend his range beyond the three-point line. It is another small thing, but him spotting up a little deeper allows for that much more spacing for his teammates to drive and make defensive rotations that much tougher. Isaiah manages to provide that extra spacing without sacrificing efficiency, as his attempts from extra deep are within a few percentage points of his shooting form from around the three-point line. A lot of these deep threes come in transition as well, where he gets a running start into the shot, gets his legs underneath him, and can use his forward momentum to launch the shot smoothly from way beyond NBA range. Being the dead-eye shooter and spacing provider that Joe is, it makes him a perfect complement to the Thunder's franchise superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai in the last 4 seasons has had the 4 highest frequency seasons in NBA history when it comes to drives per game. And do you know what pairs well with rim pressure? Shooting. Isaiah Joe serves as the perfect yang to Shai's yang, constantly occupying the attention of opposing defenses and providing vital spacing for his team's offense to operate within. And honestly, saying the way that Shai and Zay play complements each other might be an understatement. Last week, OKC EVP and GM Sam Presti spoke about the importance of having players with talents and skills that can amplify each other's on the roster.
In thinking about just like these individual pieces or players, is not just seeing them as individuals, but how they can compound or how they can generate even more value when put with somebody else. And what kind of got me thinking about that was, like, Ben Franklin was a writer, a publisher, and he was the printing press. So each one of those things amplified the other skill he had. So it actually made me think about these defenders. It's like, well, individually Caruso's really good, but if he was put with somebody like Chet, now, how much better does that make Caruso? Now, if Chet was put with somebody like Caruso and on down the line, now you say, okay, well, Dort, Wallace together last year, those guys can compound. You know what I mean? I think that's the thing about teams, is it's not just the individual players that you see in isolation, but how do their abilities compound with one another to be able to get not just like the additive thing, but like the spillover from these other things that allows you to do. And I think defensively we have the opportunity to have a lot of compounding talent.
We will get to Joe's defensive chops later, but I want to stay on the compounding skills that Joe provides for his teammates a little longer. Shooting is like money. You can never have too much of it. Space in the modern NBA is basically a currency. The more space you're able to provide for your offense, and specifically your best players, the better and more efficient your team and best players will likely perform. Joe, in a lot of situations, works as a decoy to open up other actions and space for his teammates. Everyone loves to run hard and show maximum effort when they know they're going to get the ball, but I really appreciate the energy and effort Joe puts into moving without the ball, specifically to make things easier on his teammates. Joe is such a dynamic shooter that defenders have to stay attached to him, but that can be a double-edged sword. You may have won the battle by denying him the ball, but on the other side of things, Joe has dragged his defender completely out of the play and possibly helping on defense simply by just being a mobile shooting threat. Mark Daigneault has gotten a lot of shine for his unique offensive approach, utilizing mass amounts of guard-on-guard screens. Joe's a big part of this and a frequent part of those actions. He does a great job of setting solid screens that a lot of times end up forcing a switch. On this play, he screens KCP, which forces a lesser defender in Reggie Jackson onto J-Dub in isolation. Again, it's Joe on the screen to get Herb Jones off Shai, and it's barbecue chicken alert for Shai with Kira Lewis on him. Lastly, it's him setting a screen on Saric. CP3 is forced to switch and guard Chet, who's a foot taller than him. Saric tries to help back to CP3, and Joe is left open for this practice shot above the break 3. Joe doesn't have the biggest frame, but that doesn't stop him from being physical on these screens. He also loves to switch it up by pulling the chair on defenders by slipping the screen, where he runs up to the ball like he's going to set a screen and then slipping underneath and popping out to the 3-point line. It's the little things like this that can cause confusion on the back end of a defense and their line of communication, trying to stay matched up when you've been switching off that screen all day only for Joe to slip it and now throw the opposing defense's rotations off. Isaiah doubles as a dangerous screener and dynamic shooter coming off screens. Like I mentioned earlier, he does a great job of changing his pace and speed moving off the ball, where one second it feels like he's just going through the motions, and then the next second it's like he hits a speed boost around the corner for an extremely open look from 3. And it isn't just a 3-ball exclusively either for Zay, as he really thrives as an intelligent and timely cutter offensively as well. Guys like Shai, J-Dub, and Chet attract a lot of eyeballs and attention defensively. Joe does a great job of making himself available and finding different openings to cut through to open himself up for easy looks at the hoop. If he catches his defender being lazy or ball watching, he's gone and slithers his way straight to the rim. Being the deep threat that he is, a lot of teams wisely will attempt to run him off the 3-point line. Last season, I thought he took some massive strides in his ability to attack those hard closeouts. He has a solid mid-range pull-up to punish those closeouts, which makes him that much more difficult to guard if he can also hurt you on these looks. Lastly, Joe is also an underrated driver and at-rim finisher. On those same closeouts, if a defender does give him a clear runway, he's going to take off towards the basket. He finishes really well with and through contact and has some really sneaky bounce as well. If a shot blocker is looming when he drives, he does a great job of punching these looks home to deny any chance of rejection at the rim. Case in point, when he went headhunting on Thunder legend Jeff Green last year against the Rockets.
Joe size it up, Green throws it down!
I previously mentioned my appreciation for the way that Zay moves without the ball, is a willing cutter and screener, but his unselfishness and willingness to put his body on the line really shines through taking charges. I'm not sure if it's an Arkansas thing between him and Jay Will, or if it goes back to their days playing together in high school, but all I know is, for whatever reason, they both have a sickness and talent for taking charges. Just like he does offensively, seeing an opportunity and making a play on it by cutting, Joe does a great job of identifying out-of-control drivers and getting in position to take charges. He doesn't shy away from any contact on these plays or only try to take charges on smaller players either. Truly, everyone is game for Joe on these plays, like right here when he gets hit with an absolute Serbian steamroll by Jokic. And finally, the best example I can give of his fearlessness taking charges is this play where he stands strong while a 280-pound freight train like Zion Williamson comes barreling towards the rim. Most guys, unlike Joe, would make the business decision to get out of the way so they don't end up looking like this. Anyone who's returning to my channel, you may have heard me talk about OKC's stock market before. Basically, it's a strategy or approach in which the Thunder have really prioritized forcing turnovers through steals and blocks to help spark more transition opportunities and supplement some of the rebounding issues. Isaiah Joe is not exempt from adding to this aspect of the team either, or the OKC stock market. He may not have some of the physical tools of a Dort, Caruso, Wallace, or Shai, but he has really great hands and defensive instincts when it comes to jumping passing lanes. His 6'7.5" wingspan helps him get into opponents' handles and poke the ball loose. That same length also really comes into play when it comes to deflection. Not every pass has to be stolen or intercepted. Just getting a hand or a fingertip on the ball a lot of times is enough and can create a turnover even if the guy who hit the ball off its path first isn't the one to recover it. As a slim 6'3" guard, there isn't a lot of expectation for Joe to chip in as a rim protector, but he still manages to contribute on occasion and usually in timely situations. Although he may be able to rise up for some surprise dunks, Zay is not the type of guy to jump out of the gym. He really stands out in his use of timing and anticipation on these blocks. Just like with his deflections, he's not exactly just packing or stuffing these shots, but he is impacting them just enough to force a miss, which honestly is more than you can usually ask for out of a guard who's coming over there on the help side. In 2024-2025, I'm expecting another really solid year from Isaiah Joe this season. In a lot of ways, he's a perfect complementary player who can play in all types of lineups. My hope is that he continues to extend his range this season, improve his off-the-dribble game, and more than anything, continue to increase his three-point shooting volume. When you have a Human Torch-style shooter like him, I'd rather him end a game 1 of 5 rather than 1 of 2 from deep. I think we will continue to see him utilized as a spark plug bench player who's tied to Shai in a lot of different lineups and closing lineups when OKC needs spacing. But what do you think? Would you say Isaiah Joe's the most underrated player on the Thunder? What do you see as his role next season on this new look OKC team? And what would you like to see him add to his game this season? And finally, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment down below and hit that subscribe button for more Thunder content like this. And until next time, thanks for watching.